What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the OneFourthCareers podcast. I'm your host, Xavier, and I'm here with Xavier. Xavier graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with a minor in Information Systems in 2021. Now, Xavier works as an associate at Montfort Ventures, which is a startup fundraising advisory firm. He also works as a venture capital scout for 16 VC, a global venture capital firm investing in early stage startups worldwide. Xavier, brother, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Feeling good, my brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for stopping by, man. Definitely was excited to get you on, get you onto the podcast. Know you're doing a lot of cool stuff and also frat, man. So shout out to the alphas out there, man. Appreciate you stopping by, bro.
For sure, of course. Anytime I can help out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, first, tell me, the viewers and listeners, a little bit more about your background.
Yeah. So, nice to meet everyone that's listening from wherever. I know this podcast will be worldwide, so wherever you're at, nice to meet you. But a little bit about me. So, I'm originally from North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina. Went to school at UNC Chapel Hill. And then I studied business and information science. I think for context, I came in undecided, and I kind of felt like I wanted to be in the space between tech and business, but I wasn't quite sure. So I was thinking about econ. I was thinking about computer science. I was taking computer science courses. That was a little bit too technical for me. So I settled on business and information systems, and I really liked the synergy that I found there. After that, I got a job at Visa. So I was in a rotational program. So it was like a 2-year program, 4 rotations, 6 months each. Did some marketing, some product management, some corporate strategy. Ultimately, at the end of the program, I didn't really see the long-term alignment with what I wanted to do. So I scored a few internships and then kind of pivoted into my current role at Montfort Ventures and then 16 VC. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell. But yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Well, take me back to before you were even at UNC Chapel Hill. When we talk about what you wanted to be when you were growing up, what comes to mind?
Man, as cliche as it sounds, the only thing I really wanted to be was being the NBA, was being the league. Obviously, that stopped at a very young age, so I had to pivot, but it was still always sports centric.
Yeah.
And I was so passionate about like the statistics, like the recruiting, like who's the 5-star, who's a 4-star. North Carolina is deemed as the hoop state. So like we were at the lunch tables in high school and middle school and elementary school, like arguing, debating about sports the entire day. My walls in my bedroom, my childhood bedroom, flooded with posters from like Sports Illustrated. I used to cut out the posters of Sports Illustrated kids magazines and literally tape them to my walls. Just random athletes from baseball, basketball, football, people I didn't even really support, but it was just such a big part of me. So even now I'm trying to find ways to like embed sports into what I want to do. And that's more of my long-term vision. But I would be remiss to say that somehow sports was definitely weaved into my career aspirations. I would say the problem is that I knew that it wouldn't be within the lens of an athlete. So it's like, what else is there? I hooped this morning, and that's about as far as it gets. Some Saturday morning recreation. So like it was, if that's data analysis, I've done a few data analysis projects that's on the side, like ad hoc, just stuff of like just basketball metrics. Like, so yeah, different ways I wanted to get into it. It's still very much a thing for me, something I'm passionate about. But yeah, it was definitely something with sports. And I know that's a little bit cliche. A lot of people are interested in sports. It's a very large field. But yeah, I'd be remiss to say it wouldn't be that. So it definitely was sports.
Yeah, nah, me too. A lot of us it was. But I mean, hey, it just shows how we all have to kind of find ourselves after after you realize in life, like, okay, so that is not that's not gonna work out.
That's not me.
I'm not one of them. But then what do you want to do after that? So I appreciate that rundown. Now, going back to what you currently do, working within VC, how would you describe your roles and responsibilities and what you do across both of those roles that we mentioned?
Yeah, so it's a little similar. For context, at Montfort Ventures, so it's a startup fundraising advisory firm. So this is not a VC fund. For those who are familiar, we don't seek equity. This is a consultancy. So we help startups raise money more efficiently, get them in front of the right investors, refine their pitch decks, make them as appealing as possible for investors to invest in them. In return, we get like a monthly payment. So it's not equity. So founders aren't giving up equity working with us. And then with 16 VC and like scouting in general, this is more the traditional VC fund. So I'm helping locate and identify interesting founders, interesting companies, early stage companies for 16 VC to invest in. My role more specifically on the Montfort Ventures side, which is what I do mainly, that is sort of similar, where instead of me finding companies to invest in, I'm finding companies to partner with to be prospective clients. So I'm the initial person that founders will reach out to, or I'll reach out to expand our potential portfolio. Pretty similar with 16 VC, doing similar work, but instead we're investing in them for 16 VC. We're consulting with them on the Montfort Ventures side. So they coincide a lot. And that's why I found it not being too difficult to balance the two, because there's definitely some similarities there. It's just slightly different business models.
Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. I'm not as privy to the VC world, but it's cool to hear some of the different sides and some
For
of the
sure.
overlap that you're working through. Because
For
I know
sure.
there are a lot of people who are interested in VC. So
Yeah.
hopefully, talking about venture capital,
Yeah.
which when y'all hear us say VC, that's
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Sorry.
So yeah, so making sure you guys aren't getting lost there. Well, now talk me through, how did you acquire those couple roles? You
Yeah.
mentioned being at Visa and then
Yeah.
jumping into VC through some internships.
Yeah.
How did you facilitate that navigation and switch?
Yeah. And from more context, VC is a very opaque industry on how to get into it. It's also extremely small industry relative to the assets under management. Like VCs control, there's a lot of money that goes into it. There's a lot of money in these funds, but there's very few people who control the actual capital deployment. So there's not a lot of job opportunities. It's kind of just in time recruiting. You gotta a lot of time go through the back door of like, who do you know? Is this, my brother's in VC? I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy that knows a woman that knows another. Like, you gotta sort of be gritty to get in. But there are standard recruiting cycles as well, but it's way more just in time, ad hoc, backdoor stuff. But for me, more specifically, yes, I was working at Visa, and even at Visa, the rotations I was choosing to work in were all sort of like entrepreneurial and more innovative. An example was, I was on a team called Visa Garage, and Visa Garage was our corporate incubator. So we were scaling our own internal startups in-house, from ideation to minimal viable product, which is just like, just a product in wireframes and stuff, to scaling it. And so it was almost as if we were churning out our own ventures, our own startups, with in-house dollars and like our own in-house VC. And that was giving me flavors of this entrepreneurial spirit, especially being in San Francisco. You can't really avoid it. You get the itch. It's just such a big thing out here for those who haven't visited. And so that was kind of like my intro into the overall space. But what really propelled me as a launching pad was an internship I had at Harlem Capital. And so I was doing an internship simultaneously with Visa. I don't know if they knew that at the time, but it was a fund called Harlem Capital. It's a really cool, great people. They're focused on investing in early stage founders who are people of color and women. So there was great like social alignment and impact alignment, but also a way for me to say like, okay, what is VC all about? What is investing all about? How do I locate the best founders? Doing due diligence, memo write-ups, all these. I hate to get technical, but like, for those who know about the space a little bit,
Get in there.
Trying to get in there. But yeah, so that was like, it's a pretty competitive internship. I was very surprised that I got it. There's tons of applicants every year. and it's a reputable brand. And the founder or the partners and the principals, everyone's a person of color, or underrepresented, person. And it was just great. It was like 6 interns, 6 full-time people on the team, and you get this really intimate experience to VC. You get a little bit of the technicals, you get a little bit of the qualitative, and you undoubtedly build your network. And from there, I use that as a launching pad to pivot into what I'm doing now. And honestly, like, this is very timely because it's a bit of building the plane in the air and pivoting in real time. Like, I can't say this will be the final version of who I am. I'm sure you feel the same in your career. So this is, it's cool to like talk about this in real time. This is a recent and active pivot for me. So yeah.
Now that's really cool. So knowing that you're from North Carolina, you've gone all the way out to SF, it seems that you've had so many brands a part of your journey from a professional standpoint. I have to think that there were different ecosystems and networks that you stepped into that continuously catapulted you to the next opportunity or continue to expand your network. So with that, how would you talk about some of the organizations, programs, associations that you were a part of, or even if you weren't a part of, when you look back in retrospect, you've observed that there were some that existed to help facilitate career advancement for you. So if people are wanting to get into VC, if they're wanting to be around like-minded individuals, how would you describe all the orgs that maybe you've noticed that are helpful for people to consider?
Yeah, I think we know it well, but MLT, Management Leadership for Tomorrow, I did their career prep program. So in undergrad, you did it too?
Yeah.
Okay, word. Yeah. So when I was out class of 2021, so there was a few people a few years ahead of me who were like, "Hey, X, like, you got to do this." They're telling me my freshman year, and I remember I'm a very ambitious person, and I was in college, like, I was pretty professionally driven. Like, I wanted the internships. I was ready for
that money.
like I was my eyes were on the prize. I was focused on that. I didn't let it like maybe make up, like, I didn't let it consume me, but I was focused on getting to where I wanted to go. So MOT helped a lot. Like, it put me in the right rooms, put me in front of a bunch of recruiters. There was like this job portal that you can apply to jobs, and that's how I got the visa job. That's how I scored. I saw the visa job on the internal portal that MOT provided as being a part of the program. My senior year, I had just interned at Amazon as a financial analyst. So I was weighing that offer, and I had the visa offer. I wanted something a little bit more cross-functional and like fluid, flexible, dynamic. And ultimately I landed with that. So I would definitely say MLT career prep. In college, I was a co-president of the Minority Business Student Alliance.
Okay.
So one of our I don't know, groups or sectors or arms, we had this corporate recruiting arm where we would have people on our team reach out to recruiters. They would come in. We would have these information sessions, these panels, mock interviews, stuff like that. So that work helped me with my visibility with recruiters, people that I wanted to potentially work with. So it was good that we were actively helping minorities on campus. Simultaneously, I was building out my recruiter network. Like, hey, like, yeah, come in for this event, and that's like a good way to get in front of
my resume.
right here.
There you go.
Yeah.
Welcome.
In the meantime, yeah. So I would shout out those two as definitely orgs that molded me. Also Alpha, Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Just a good network, nonetheless. A great network for that, robust. I wouldn't say I got any job offers off the bat because of it, but the amount of professionals, like-minded, ambitious professionals that I've met through Alpha is amazing. Like, to say the least.
Endless list.
So, yeah.
No, that's cool for sure. I mean, especially when you're talking about D9, like it's so intricately woven into a lot of instances in our lives. It's really hard to encapsulate some of those little moments where it's like, oh, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this, or that connection wouldn't have began as warmly as it did if it wasn't maybe for this similarity. So Appreciate you sharing some information about those experiences that you had. I think that is really important. And
Yeah.
also to highlight for individuals, like, these are repeatable things. Like, that's the purpose
Yeah.
of some of these questions, is to really highlight how repeatable your journey is to
Yeah.
some degree. I know that there are a lot of things that people won't know that maybe had to go right. There's always a blend of needing to be prepared for opportunities that reveal themselves, a lot of external factors. But hopefully what you all are capturing from Xavier so far is that it's a very realistic, potentially repeatable journey for
Yeah.
you. He's doing incredible things out in the world, and you all will hear even more. But here we want to encourage individuals to know that your success, if you want similar success that Xavier has, is not out of reach. So that's kind of why, especially on that last question, hearing what was he a part of, these are things that you all should, for the most part, be able to also gain exposure to
Right.
if you're in that journey in your life, if you're an undergrad. If you're not, hopefully it still highlights the type of networks that maybe you want to enter into and activate. So I appreciate you sharing some of that info, bro, because
Sure.
you had mentioned something really interesting before about building a plane in the sky
Yeah.
as you're pivoting and going from Visa to Harlem Capital. Talk about how feasible it is for people to pivot. And since you've been in VC for a little while now, how would you describe the variety of backgrounds that people have? Is there any interesting things to call out, if it's truly a melting pot across anything and everything, or if there are maybe like a top four backgrounds and different previous roles people have? How would you describe what you've observed for people who may be interested in pivoting to VC?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think VC primarily, historically, I would say, is reserved for mostly people, honestly, who have investment banking backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
management consulting, like MBB, like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, um, because there's only so many spots. I talked about that earlier. And they want to know there's a certain level of aptitude, and
Mm-hmm.
those skills are very transferable to venture capital and is extremely reputable. So I would say when you look at job opportunities in VC as an analyst associate, a lot of times it'll be like 2 to 3 years of experience in investment banking or at management consulting and like MBB. And it's a little bit elitist for sure. I want
Yeah.
to be a representative of the folks who don't have that background. Like I do not have an investment banking background. I do not have a management consulting background. And there's space. So it doesn't have to be that way. But I would say a lot of people come from those backgrounds because not a lot of people go straight into VC out of college. There's not a lot of recruiting for that. So the only way to really do that would be there's probably some under the radar opportunities, or you just have to know somebody.
Yep.
VC is a very relationship driven industry where it's really who you know. And if you don't know too many people, if your network's not as expansive, the investment banking and management consultancy work will absolutely be a catapult into you pivoting into VC. For me, like I had being an SF, like it was a bit of a serendipitous like outcome for me. Like I didn't know I was going to move to SF, but I took advantage of being in the crux of the VC and entrepreneurial world and using that to my advantage. I'm very aware that like not everyone can have that experience where like if you're trying to break into VC without an IB or management consulting background in the middle of Arkansas, you're going to have a little bit of, the obstacles are going to be a little bit higher. So
Yeah.
I undoubtedly will say that proximity to this definitely helped me in VC because it's so relationship driven.
Yeah.
And I can't say that with other industries, but with VC being close to the source of it all, Silicon Valley, SF, all these big blue chip VC funds,
Yep.
all the big entrepreneurs, all the tech companies out here, it undoubtedly helped me. I will say
You're
that.
you're dropping some ridiculous gems.
Yeah.
Like I'm excited because this is We are here to dismantle gatekeeping. We are here to provide information where if you can do the work, do the work. If you
Right.
can gain the experience, if you can get into VC, which you can if you want,
Right.
this information is here to empower you. Where if you're willing to go through the work, to do your diligence, to upskill and acquire the right experiences and do the networking, like these roles are here for you.
True.
And we understand that through gatekeeping, through because a lot of individuals who are underrepresented, underserved, we don't have the abundance of cousins and uncles and parents who did all of these roles in these what people would call high earning career paths. That's why this information is so crucial. So the fact that you just shared crazy gems on some pre-careers that individuals in VC have, that highlights just one pathway where if you all didn't know much about VC, but you maybe have a consulting opportunity, but you have another opportunity and
Right.
you're like, maybe I want to do VC. Maybe I'll go consulting path since it may be something I can leverage to get into VC. That just being a small example, and also just the whole proximity gym of like, how many people get those gyms. So if you all are interested in VC, if you begin to learn about it and you gain interest in it, being in some of those hot spot cities like SF or New York City, that stuff is ridiculously helpful to know because we only have so much time in our windows as we set our career trajectory. So the earlier you all have that information where maybe you can start navigating your life towards some of your professional aspirations and personal, it's not all about professional, but to maximize your professional satisfaction. I think that's just uber important. And I think that was amazing. Thank you for your transparency and kind of highlighting your path and what you've observed, because I think that is just going to unlock for so many people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one last gem I'd add is that the cool thing about venture capital is that it's extremely democratized. And what I mean by that is that other than actually deploying capital, other than deploying millions into a startup, you can do all of the work of a typical VC analyst for free, for sweat equity. And then your way in could be, here's what I've done. Here's the diligence on a company. I found a company and wherever I found a startup founder that aligns with the thesis of this VC fund. I'm sending it to you because I think, it would be a potentially worthy investment. Here's a 2 to 3 slide deck on why I would invest, on their traction metrics, on their vision, on the team. Like, you can do all of that for free. You can talk to startup founders for free. You can go to these happy hours with founder happy hours and all these things for free. It's extremely democratized. Now, actually investing, you need capital to actually invest. But to breaking in, you can locate founders from wherever, and in alignment of a VC fund's thesis, if they invest in software, they invest in, climate, biotech, like find founders in biotech, climate, software, start sending it to VCs for free, just sweat equity, show them you're capable. And with that, that's your way in, building a track record. Like, you can absolutely do that for free. It's a democratized industry. Yeah.
Let's go, man. Let's go. You
Yeah.
about to get me interested in VC. I
Yeah,
ain't
man.
gonna lie to you. I
Yeah,
feel like, you know what? I could go get in VC. I feel
for
like
sure.
it's obtainable because my boy up here giving me all the gems. But appreciate you sharing that, man. So now that you've shared so many gems on
Yeah.
what people can do, take me back to what advice you would give yourself, maybe about what you would do if you could go back.
Yeah.
And that could be to better prepare yourself for the current roles that you're in, your
Yeah.
long-term vision, or just life in general. What advice would you go back and give yourself when you were in undergrad?
Yeah. I think for me, hindsight's 2020. You know this.
Yep.
But, I would love to have so much more clarity on what I wanted to do. I didn't understand what I really wanted to do until I got maybe a year into the visa program. So at
Okay.
this point, I'm 23, I'm 24, I'm 23, probably 22. I'm like, okay, now I'm figuring out what I wanted to do. And that's because my visa rotational program exposed me to different function areas. We're like, I'm not so good at that. I don't really like that. Oh, there's stuff that I can take from here and apply to different industries. I might want to take this and run.
Mhm.
So my guiding piece of advice was like, try to find that clarity early. And I know it's very hard to do. But if you can find clarity on what you want to achieve in 5 to 10 years out of college, and like lock in on that, like research, like what can you do to get there, I think that will help you tremendously. Because for me, I think this might be controversial. I don't know. Like, I don't want people to just settle on these name brand companies like a Visa, like Amazon. Like, that's great, but people will just say, "Oh yeah, you're going to be successful," blah blah blah. But that might not be where you want to end up. That's just a starting step. So, like, for me, I knew that was just a starting step for me. I didn't have clarity on my long-term trajectory. I didn't really know until I got out here.
Yeah.
So if you get clarity early and then you lock in on really researching that, on reaching out to people, because for me, I'm just applying to stuff that sounds good in undergrad. I'm applying to the visas, all the tech companies with all the swag and all. Like, that's great. Don't get me wrong, and that will be a great foundation for your career. And I'm not knocking that at all. If that's what you want to do, please pursue that. But I think people too often succumb to that as their final destination.
Yep.
Really explore, dig deep. And I know it's asking a lot for an 18, 19, 20-year-old. But if you really explore and dig deep on where you want to be, lock in, researching, reaching out to people, that would be my best piece of advice. Just trying to find that clarity early. And it's definitely difficult because we're so young.
Yep.
But hopefully podcasts like these and like exposing the intricacies of respective industries can help students, early career folks, like really grasp what they want to do a little bit more.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we're here. We don't want you to do it on your own. We don't want you to have to do it on your own. And we understand everyone has a different starting place. So wherever you are in your journey and figuring that out, definitely just do your diligence. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't shy away from feeling deep down that you're not really happy, but feeling as though I don't have anything to complain about. I should be grateful. I shouldn't be looking to get more, find more. You only have one life, so try to live it the best that you can. And if you're willing to put in the work, the world truly is your oyster. And with information, hopefully you will be able to achieve more. So thank you for touching on that. Sounds like that would be some good advice that I myself would have wanted to take when I was a little bit younger too. Now, a little bit of housekeeping for someone who wants to be in VC. Let's say they're sold, they want to get into it. You already provided so many gems on how they could navigate towards it. What do they have to look forward to on the other side, specifically as it pertains to upward mobility, career progression? When they start at a VC firm, how would you describe the level of roles that they can go into vertically?
Yeah. It's a great question. It's pretty standard across the board. So
Okay.
it goes from like analyst, associate / senior associate. There might be a senior analyst, but it goes analyst, associate, principal, and then partner. Whether it's managing partner, general partner. But that's pretty much the track. And I would say that the appeal of VC is that it's a very risky asset class. It's all on upside potential. We call it a home run business. So we're not swinging for base hits like maybe traditional investments or other asset classes. Maybe your standard S&P 500. Like, we're swinging for the fences. And VC funds know that most of their portfolio companies will fail. A few will hit and return the fund. And then a very select few will have these mega returns where everyone will be happy, where the investors will be happy, where the founder will be happy. So VC is predicated on failure. It's extremely strange. We're like, they know going in that most of these portfolio companies will die out because it's so risky. You're investing early. This is for early stage VC. You're investing so early in the life cycle of a founder that it might just be an idea. They might have pre-revenue. Like, that's a very common thing to invest in. It's extremely risky. But the appeal, back to the crux of the question, is when you work in VC, the potential equity that you can accrue from these mega hits, from the home run business. So if I'm an associate, right, they might say I get 1% carry, and carry is basically the equity that you get after the portfolio companies have returned the fund. So if I have $100 million fund and we've invested in 50 companies and we've already got to 100 million, every additional dollar after that, I would get it's the VC gets 20% of every additional dollar. So if it's $1 extra, they'll get 20 cents, the VC fund, and then I'll get 1% of that as an associate. So that's a very small scale. But if like we make 500 million off of a $100 million fund,
Yeah.
the VC gets 20% of that.
Yep.
Of that net. So that's a $400 million net. So that's 80 million. The VC gets that 80 million, and then I would get 1% of that. So that's 800,000, right? So
Yeah.
that's called carry. That's equity. So in tandem with salary, equity in VC, what we call carry, is something that really appeals to people who are working there. And partners, like, it's more than 1%. They might get like 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8%. I don't know. And when you start generating very high returns, those numbers get insane, right?
Yeah.
The amount of equity that you can accrue. So that's really the draw. The caveat being that a lot of VC funds, they'll hire you for like 2 to 3 years. Like there's usually a short-term life expectancy when you're early on. And the reason for that, there's a few reasons, but I would say the main reason is because VC funds fail as well. And every 2 to 3 years, they start raising another fund. They might have their first fund. They might start raising a fund 2. There's a potential that there might not be a fund 2. So usually like the early analyst, maybe associate roles, is usually like a 2 to 3 year expectancy, and then pivoting to maybe another VC fund, starting your own, finding like being a founder and, working at a startup. But yeah, I would say the biggest draw is the equity that you can get. But hopefully, getting into VC, there's partner track roles. Some roles are partner track, some aren't. So some roles you have the mobility to get to being a partner, which is the top of the chain. Some roles are like, we're going to be very transparent with you. This is not a partner track role, but we're going to give you great experience for you to pivot to another fund that's hopefully partner track, and for you to get as much equity as you can. I know that was extremely technical. I was working through it, as I was telling it. And sorry for those who are a little bit maybe not even interested in VC or not as privy. But all to say, equity is definitely something that is the overall appeal in this industry. Yeah.
Hey, people know what the word equity means. So
yeah, they know it. They know what equity means.
Through all the technical talk, we know what that means. That's that mognon right there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
some
That's
coins.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
all
some
it is.
coins. That's your money that you've earned being in that role. So appreciate you touching on that. I think it was technical, but I think it was extremely insightful, especially if people are interested in VC, or if you're not interested in VC, but maybe you like that model. Maybe you like how Xavier explained the inner workings of VC. So if that sound appealing to you, something that I live for when we do this pod is also expanding the interest of the viewers and listeners. So hopefully some of you, any of you out there, took something away from that. Well, man, now we are at the last segment. It's called a 3-piece, inspired by the foodies of the world.
Yes,
I need
sir.
a 3-piece from you on your career, though.
Yeah.
What are 3 words that you would use to describe your career journey thus far?
I would say fluid, unconventional, and mobile. And mobile and fluid, that's pretty similar, but I think with mobile, I've had a lot of different roles in past 3 years. Like, I was in a rotational program, so I was 4 different roles in 2 years.
Right.
The Harlem Capital internship, scouting for a VC fund, working for a startup advisory. Like, I'm kind of just sort of been on the go a little bit.
Yeah.
So definitely been mobile. and just being fluid, like riding the ebbs and flows early on to be where you want to be.
Mhm.
And I know that a lot of people's professions are very standard, like they working at wherever, they're an accountant, they're a software engineer, very standard year in and year out. And that's where the unconventional piece comes for me, where like building the plane in the air. I think that's the theme. Like I've been just trying to be gritty, make a name for myself, build a track record. And it's been a bit of an unconventional pathway, given that I don't have the IB background, investment banking, that is the consulting background.
Mhm.
Um, it's challenging, but it's unconventional. But I think it will all pan out as um, it just being my story. Like
Yeah.
so, I would say those three words.
Hey man, that's dope, bro. Cause honestly, I gotta give you your flowers, man, before you move forward, bro. Like you've been killing it. You've been scrappy coming from North Carolina, just coming from your background as a whole, just for anyone who's a part of the underrepresented, underserved community, the level of scrappiness you've had to showcase, the positive impact you've had to leave in so many circles you've been a part of because your brand does follow you, moving to across the country, still thriving and being successful, man, and finding your way and still being ambitious and being resilient with so much of the things that we're all experiencing out in the world, bro. Kudos to you and everything that you're pouring into the pod and that I'm sure you've poured into other people as we've talked about having mentees and such, like you really being able to put others on and pulling other people up with you. It's amazing, man. And I know a lot of people are proud of you. I know the brotherhoods are proud of you. So I appreciate you for kind of pouring yourself into this episode and also just appreciate you for all the things that you're doing out in the world, man, making a real positive impact for a lot of people to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I
Yeah.
appreciate it. You've been giving me a lot of flowers, but I definitely want to return the favor to you.
Ah,
Yeah, man. You
I
like the
appreciate
Spider-Man
it.
meme. It's like
Yeah, there you go.
for real, like this,
Yep.
anytime there's a platform to mitigate gatekeeping, to put people on game, to release these golden nuggets, these gems, especially these underrepresented minorities, like I will always vouch for you for doing that. And this is great.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm very excited to see where this goes, the trajectory. I hope this is like something that is very near and dear to your heart, and just like keep rocking and keep going with it, bro. Like it's
Yeah.
solid. I love the platform, bro. I appreciate
Yes,
you.
sir. Salute to you, brother. I appreciate that, man. Okay, well, man, we're wrapping up, but we're wrapping up with some extremely meaningful things to talk about.
Yeah.
Tell us who or what inspires you, keeps you going, doing all the amazing things you've done and continue to do. How are you getting through that? Who or what inspires you?
Yeah, I think it's important to like benchmark your excellence. Like everyone has a different definition of excellence and like what that means to you.
Hmm.
And for me, I look to my left and look to my right with my closest friends, and I just see excellence since I started college. And I'm blessed to have been my best friends, my friend group, like they were as driven as me. And so it was like iron sharpening iron. And so I would definitely say like the benchmark for excellence has been them, has been my community, and they've held me accountable. So like the inspiration I get from them is huge, and then you sort of see this momentum where like, yeah, I don't talk to my friend group every day, but I know they're grinding just as hard as I'm trying to grind. That's all I need to know. Like
Hmm.
it's a very well-oiled machine after you build the foundation. So
Yeah.
it's like finding a culture fit with your friends is real. Benchmarking the excellence, like what does excellence mean to you? Oh, is it this person doing this? Okay, cool. Now I know my standard. Okay.
Yep.
And then they don't even have to be around every day. It's a well-oiled machine, like I'm saying. Like the momentum goes, you just know that like what they expect of you and what you should expect of yourself. So definitely community inspires me. Same thing with family, like same thing.
Yeah.
But that concept for sure is what has inspired me.
That
Absolutely.
is a blessing. Look, y'all, show me your 5 friends, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you your future.
Yeah.
There are different renditions of that. So you always got to still rock with your people. I don't care kind of what class they're in. That's not saying turn your back on people who aren't where you are or people who don't have the same experience as you. So, what I'm saying, definitely don't try your best to not step into that stereotypical elitist mentality. Never forget where you came from. Stay grounded wherever you're at. For people who having to get it out the mud from the very beginning, like, I feel you there. And a lot of people do as well. With that being said, balance that of never forgetting where you came from, keeping the people who are maybe right for you around, despite wherever you all are in your journeys. There is some validity to show me your friends, your closest circle, and I'll show you your future, right? Continue to strive in your friend groups. If y'all got that real love that, you know what I'm saying, that people try to boast and brag about, if y'all really rock with each other as heavy as you say you do, then want more for your circle and they should want more for you. Uplift one another and let's rock out in life together, achieving whatever our goals and visions are. So shout out to your circles, especially, you know, for y'all having that. And I think that really speaks to just the gratitude that we all should have for those circles who have been rocking out with us all the way to where we are. So I think that's dope, man. Community is a huge part of your life, and having community as inspiration, it's extremely sustainable. That also speaks to just not doing it alone. So I really rock with that, man. And next question I have for you, with you having the ambition that you have, having your inspiring network of community, having your village, using those couple things, where do you see yourself in a year or two?
Yeah. You know, there's definitely going back to school is in the horizon, potentially. But I think mainly the place I want to be like a subject matter expert. Like I kind of want to get back into my knowledge, my thought leadership bag, and like building my personal brand within venture, and hopefully
Okay.
connecting that to sports. So there's a lot of stuff that I've been planning the past year, getting really introspective about where I want to be in the long term, building that out and like building a platform around it on like knowledge sharing and thought leadership and like just being a subject matter expert. I want people to find my brand, whether that's on LinkedIn or Twitter, and me sharing my thoughts and people know me for something. I don't think I have that right now, but it's a journey, right? So
Yeah.
I want to be known for something a little bit more, and be a subject matter expert within venture, but within a niche within venture. That's like, okay, this guy knows about this. Yeah, so that's probably where I want to be in 1 to 2 years.
I love that. And I mean, people know you for
For
something.
sure.
You
Know
might
me.
not be a SME in VC, but
Right.
that's a perfect tee up to ask what else you got going on. So you
Right,
tell
right.
me,
Yeah.
what do people know you for right
Yeah,
now?
people, sorry. I won't discredit myself. People know me for certain things.
Yeah.
But that's a certain thing I want to work on, and I want people to know me about, to know about me. Sorry. Yeah. So this is a good time to plug in that I also DJ in the Bay Area. You can find me on Instagram at Zeno Mixes, ZENO Mixes, MIXES, on IG, and X known as on TikTok. Been getting more into my bag, spinning lately, hip hop, Afrobeats, R&B, dancehall, Caribbean vibes, soca, and been rocking out with that. Yeah, I'm pretty much have a gig every weekend, and it's so fun to do. Anyone interested in DJing, hit me up. I'm still a bit of a beginner myself, like past 2 years, but been rocking out in clubs and bars in the Bay. So if you're out here in the Bay, feel free to hit my page, or if you want to collab, stuff like that. So yeah.
Hey, y'all rock with Zeno Mixes, man. I know this guy he's a hard worker. And I know the reason I say that because I think it's so interesting. I don't know a lot of DJs for one, but for two, you know, when we go out, and even for people who maybe their only time going out was really like undergrad, do you really know the DJs? Like, do you know what the DJs do? Are they full-time DJs? Like, who are the people behind the tables putting on the jams for us to have a good time? And I think it's so cool that we just had a whole episode about VC and your professional career, but here we are finishing it off talking about how you're a DJ, you're an exceptional DJ. You've been doing great at it, and you've been getting gigs back to back to back. So it's like, man, if y'all looking for a DJ, I mean, go get you a VentureCapital DJ.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, this man might play you some jams and find you some companies to invest in.
Exactly.
But y'all check out his links below. You will be able to find his information here on YouTube for those who are watching here. Super excited for y'all to tap in with him and just kind of stay aware of everything he has going on, especially on the DJ front. Hopefully you all just see him the same as I do, just a real cool, chill guy who you're excited to see his success because you also see a reflection of yourself in him. Appreciate you plugging the fact that you're a DJ and kind of showing that even though, again, you're so accomplished professionally, you got a life, my brother. You got passions. Like, you got other things that you do. So it's great to also show how much your work life is integrated with your personal life in your interests, to just show that it is feasible to blend the two worlds and have those two things coexist.
For sure.
So this was amazing. This was a rich pod, man. The last question I have for you is, do you have anything else top of mind? Any other tips, anything to share with the people, man, before we close out?
For sure. I think that for listeners who especially are breaking into VC, know it's a journey, and know it might take some people a month and other people a few years. And it's all about just staying consistent. And that's something I'm teaching myself. So I am definitely projecting in a way of just being consistent into where I want to be, and it will come. The results will speak for itself. And then like the last piece I would say is also, and even for me, once again, don't be so fixated on a certain career path where you're neglecting other industries.
Yeah.
If God blesses you and puts a cool accounting opportunity, cool legal opportunity, and you're like, I don't know, just try it out, try to test it out, do what you can. I think oftentimes we sometimes pigeonhole ourselves a little bit too much, and we don't look at the periphery. And sometimes it's good. It's always great to be zeroed in. It's always great. But sometimes there's these things that happen on the outside that we'll just neglect because never thought about it. Don't care to think about it.
Yep.
Try not to be so fixated and so rigid. Bring in these really cool opportunities. Just be open. It's life. We only have one of it. So it's like, just be as dynamic as you can, as flexible as you can, as open as you can to new opportunities, for sure.
I love it. I love it. Drop the mic, man. Giving you your flowers. Appreciate you being here, pouring into the audience, brother. I appreciate you so much for stopping by the show. Look forward to us chopping it up, man, in the future. And I'll be reaching out, man. So thanks again.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right. Peace, bro.
Peace.
Another fantastic episode, y'all. We out here knocking them out. We got someone in VC. It's super exciting for me just being aware, only just a few years ago, learning about VC, investment banking, consulting, some of those more prestigious industries and functions. I didn't know much about it, just coming from an engineering background. So always excited when there's additional information that's being put out there about these particular areas. So I hope that you all found some of this interesting. I hope some of you heard of VC for the first time, all of that. But hopefully you all were able to pull away some tips and gems from this conversation. Xavier is an amazing person, and I hope that you all are able to connect with him through some of those links that's linked below, seeing some of his DJ life as well as his VC journey. So as always, like, comment, subscribe, share it with someone if you feel that they may be interested in VC or just someone who's still trying to figure it out. If you feel like there were some gems here, share it along. As always, stay happy, stay blessed. Peace.